In this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast, James and I, we're going to talk about some of the hottest players in college basketball, whether it's conference play or since the start of the new year. We are going to talk about who's on fire. We're going to lead off with Ace Bailey, who had one of the most efficient games you'll ever see in college basketball. Stay tuned. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Rafael Barlowe, along with my brother, James Barlowe. And like I mentioned in the open, we are going to talk about some of the hottest players in the nation. But before we get started, I want to talk to you about the Locked On newsletter, because your favorite Locked On NBA podcast has a newsletter. Check it out at lockedondaily.com. And if you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, I'm not sure what is taking so long, but please subscribe, like, share, comment, and click the bell so you can be notified every time we drop an episode, because we are your daily source for NBA draft content. If we don't drop one every day, you're going to get an episode at least 5 days per week. All right, this episode should be fun because we got a few players that are scorching hot right now. But before we get into the episode, I want to wish James a happy birthday. My man had a birthday, even though it's a day late. By the time you listen to this, it'd be 2 days late. But James had a birthday on Sunday. So happy birthday, young bro.
I'm a happy brother with a happy birthday, man. I appreciate that.
All right, let's talk about it. Ace Bailey. You've people in the comments think you're Ace Bailey hater. I saw they said you was ducking some of the comments.
I did a whole podcast. How am I ducking?
Hey, man.
I did a whole podcast shouting them out. How am I ducking? Who am I ducking? Ducking myself?
Well, you've been skeptical. You've been a little skeptical about Ace. I mean, you've definitely given him his props too, but you've been a little skeptical. To me, I think Ace Bailey is the number 3 pick in the 2025 NBA draft, without a doubt. You've mentioned that you think that, there's some other guys that should be in the mix, which is valid. But the way Ace played tonight, and for those that are familiar with Ace Bailey, 6'10", freshman from Rutgers, who came into the season arguably the number 2 prospect in the 2025 draft class. I think he's number 3 now. I mean, he's had some phenomenal performances, but what he did tonight, 30 points, 13 of 15 from the floor, 4-5 from 3, 7 rebounds, but it was an Ace Bailey game. No free throws, no assists, all buckets. Scored on 3 levels, got to the rim, made his usual tough shots, was 4-5 from 3. To me, this is the type of performance when you look at Ace Bailey, you say, there's not too many guys in the world that can make the shots that he was making. And when he gets hot, you see the flashes. You see what he can be. You see how dynamic he is on the offensive end. And for all the people that are just like anti-Ace Bailey, we're talking about a guy that was averaging like 19 and 9 in conference play. And there are still people like James who thinks that there are other players that are possibly better than him. I don't see it, but I want to hear your thoughts on Ace's performance.
Look, all I said was let's keep the dialogue open. Ace was great again tonight. I feel like you now are joining in and painting me as this Ace hater. If I move him to 3, back to 3, am I still a hater? I don't think so. But look, my whole thing with Ace has been, what does it look like? And tonight against Penn State, he showed you again what it looks like when everything is working for him and he diversifies his shot selection. That's all I ever asked of the young fella, and he's doing it. I want to say the most impressive plays from him tonight were the movement threes. The movement threes, the ability to catch the ball off the handoff, raise up and shoot. Like that is something that is very, very unique to him in this draft because like nobody else, I don't think in this draft can do that, especially at the size that he has. And then he also made a very athletic play. He caught a body. He dunked on, I forget the young fella's name, but he went baseline and he caught a body. Those are great plays that he has grown to make. Again, my only issue with Ace, again, I understand the passing is going to come and go. Him not having assists, like I'm not even here to talk about that. Him not getting to the foul line, you brought that up. I wasn't going to bring that up. My only issue
They got
with
you
him
scared,
is when
man. You scared about the hater criticisms.
I'm never scared of anybody. Listen.
You
It's
got to
not
bring up
that
the
big of a
fact that a
difference,
guy gets
huh?
some 15 shots and no free throws.
Yeah,
That's that's
listen.
pretty hard to do.
They call that ethical hoops on Twitter these days. My only issue is when he just isolates. And again, we look at synergy tonight. There were 5 spot up possessions, matching 5 isolations. As long as those numbers are close, I'm cool with whatever Ace Bailey does. And I guess it's not even a pressure thing because I don't care about what people say. I haven't cared since like '88, but he is likely, more than likely, going to be number 3 on my latest big board because again, he's trending in the right direction. He's making the adjustments that I've asked him to make, and he's getting better. So shout out to Ace Bay. Like I said, I'm not bringing up the assists. I'm not bringing up the free throws. Like he was getting buckets, and that's what you want him to do. It's just again, if it getting to the paint is his biggest issue for me, and he's showing you the ability to get to the paint because all those other shots are great shots, but sometimes even as great of a shooter as you are, Ace Bailey, you miss those shots. How else are you keeping the defense honest? So he kept the defense honest tonight. 13 to 15 is crazy, right? And he's a hooper. What else can you say?
Yeah, 13 to 15 is crazy. I mean, you can say Ryan Kalkbrenner had a more impressive, efficient game when he was like 20 of 22, but that was mostly on the block. Ace was shooting threes, shooting middies,
Transition finishes.
He's going to take some tough shots. The one knock that is consistently heard about Ace is that he takes tough shots. He can't do this. He can't do that. His shot selection for a guy to go 13 or 15 with quote unquote poor shot selection.
But hold on, Ron, hold on. Those weren't all bad shots, though. That's the thing.
I know.
Like,
I'm just saying,
they were. This was the unreal shooting example, but these weren't all poor shots. I want to say if I charted them, and I know Leaf did it once with Trey Johnson. Of the 15 field goals he took, like 13 were like high quality shots. It's just that he is figuring it out now. Again, it's not necessarily about having the meanest handle for him. It's about, can I create space and create shooting opportunities using my body, even though he is skinny, and he's starting to figure that out. When he drives into people, he can raise up and shoot. I have no issues with those. It's the 2 dribbles to nowhere and guys aren't even at 6'10", he doesn't create space. Like those are tough shots. He's not doing that as much. And again, great shooting talent, taking much better shots, and you get an unreal performance like you get tonight where he has 30 on 15 shots.
See, I don't think he needs a lot of space because of his ability to rise and fire. A lot of people need space to get their shot off. He doesn't because he can stop, pop, pull up. But 13 or 15, again, and I wasn't saying that he took bad shots this game, but then again, I'm starting to think if other players took some of those movement shots, it's like we're kind of grading him on a curve in a sense. Those would be considered very difficult shots if, let's say, I don't know, or another wing took him. But for Ace, we know that is in his bag. And so we're not saying those are as difficult shots. But check these stats out. Over the last week, so the last 7 days, 24.6 points, 9.3 rebounds, 2 blocks, 1 steal, 63, 56, 81 shooting splits.
What if I was a true hater, I would find something negative to say about him. But I have nothing negative to say.
I know on Twitter they will. I mean, I've seen some of these big boards, and I'm trying not to like. I know it's not you. I'm trying not to like pay attention. Like my goal for January is not to is to not look at anybody else's big board other than James's or anybody on Locked On. Big boards are mocks because it's human nature to be swayed a little bit. I want to go 100% off my gut and how I feel. But I did scroll across some on accident, and I saw quite a few that didn't have Ace Bailey in their top 10, top 15. I just think too many people are overthinking it, and all they're doing is just going to, Bartovic, and they're just pulling queries, and they're making their draft big boards clearly off of just pulling up random analytics numbers. Like, you got to watch the game. All right, up next, we're going to talk about a guy who is just as hot, who is going to be the number one pick in the 2025 NBA draft. I'm finally going to say it. I think you can etch it in stone, in pen, permanent marker. Before I was saying, I think there's a chance, or I think it's close. But now, I just think like you just got to say Cooper Flagg is the number one pick. All right, before we get into the second segment, let's talk about FanDuel, because from the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. And right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets. That's if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. And the FanDuel app is very easy to navigate. The variety of bets keep every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. So there's no waiting around to get your cash. Whether you are betting on your favorite team or you're just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. Visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this NFL playoffs unforgettable with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, second segment. Let's talk about Cooper Flagg. I don't want to seem like we're a platform that we're going to keep talking about Cooper Flagg over and over again because he gets the algorithming. I know that's not a word, but I made it up last week. But Cooper Flagg has been good as advertised, if not better. I'll be honest. Coming into the season, I thought Cooper Flagg was the number one pick. I thought that, Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey had a puncher's chance of surpassing him. I saw him as like this athletic play finisher with an improving offensive game. I knew he was a special defender, the best defender I've seen on the high school level. I knew he was a good passer. I thought the jump shot was improving, but Cooper Flagg is getting better every week. Conference play, 22.9 points, 7.3 rebounds, 4.3 assists, 2.4 stocks on 58, 50, 87 shooting splits. The improvements that he's made are, one, I think he's been able to cut down on the spin move turnovers early in the year. You knew that he was driving hard. If you beat him to the spot, he was spinning. A lot of those turnovers are gone. And the three-point shooting, 50% from three in conference play. And that's over 8 games. 50% from three in conference play. And I want to say it's on like 3.5 attempts per game. So for those nitpicking Cooper Flagg, he can't shoot. Small sample size, but he's shooting 50% from three in conference play. What are your thoughts on Cooper's latest hot streak? And in your opinion, has he all but cemented himself as the number one pick?
I've had him at number one the entire time. So him making jump shots is like, shout out to him. Shout out to Ace. Shout out to the guys that show improvement throughout the season. And it's easy, I guess you can say, to keep doing what you've been doing. But like those guys in particular are like, you can tell that they work on their game. And like Cooper, I saw him in person. His slashing ability is second to none, I think, in this draft. His strength, his motor, his dog, all of those things are on showcase every night. I believe against Boston College at one point, he was like 3 for 8 from the field. And then I looked up and he was 8 of 13 from the field. He was getting to the rack. And like I know that there were questions about his jump shot, but just the way that I evaluate things, Ralph, I look at how you miss and I look at your free throw percentage. And those are to me good signs of someone who will be able to shoot. Did I think he would make this jump the way that he made this jump this soon? No. And you can look at his 3-point attempts. They're not high volume. They're not the same kind of 3-point shots Ace is taking, but him making catch and shoot threes is more than enough for him because if you close out on him, he has the athleticism, the strength, the mindset that all he needs is one dribble and he's going to get fouled at the worst case. So, like, Flagg is a hooper, man. And like I said, I told you, I think he has Kawhi Leonard type talent. I'm still standing on it. And the handle, he's the handle's still a work in progress, obviously, but he's going to get stronger with the ball. Creativity, and there are flashes here and there, but at the same time, he understands that this season is as much as about me getting better as it is about me just doing what I can do well, which is if I get a straight line drive, I got these wide shoulders and I'm gonna finish, or I'm gonna get fouled. And ball movement, like he's just tough, man. It's hard to limit him to a couple like adjectives. Like dude is a hooper.
Yeah, I mean, like the nitpickers are one. They were saying the shooting. I saw somebody that when he had 42, they called it like the most bagless 42.
See, man, well, I'll say something. I'm a hater, but if you say Flagg had a bagless 42,
I mean, but it was somebody on Twitter or whatever. So anyway,
man, I'm just talking.
To me, he doesn't necessarily need to be like super creative. Doesn't need a bag because if he is Kawhi doesn't have a bag.
You're crazy. Do you want to delete that? Did you see?
No, I mean handle? But Kawhi's handle is simple and it is getting to my spots. So you don't need to have like crazy Kyrie step back. You don't need a bunch of like crossovers. It is the thing with Kawhi is he is very efficient with his ball handling. Whether he needs, it's almost like Kawhi plays 2 dribbles. For those that don't know, 2 dribbles is, a one-on-one game where you're forced to just know how to get to your spots because you're limited to just 2 dribbles. Kawhi is very efficient. I think a lot of times when people think of bag, you think of guys that pound the ball, that need like a bunch of crossovers to get you lean in one direction. Like, when you think of bag, you think of Kyrie, you think of Harden, you may think of Luka, you may think of SGA, guys that kind of pound the ball a little bit. Kawhi is not pounding the ball. 1, 2 dribbles gets to a spot. And Cooper, if he has the ball at the top of the key, it's a drive. I mean, he's just very efficient with his ball handling. And so I don't think he necessarily needs to like be flashy with his ball handling because he has the strength to either A, I'm going to get by you if you're bigger than me. And if you're not, then I'm going to just play the bully ball. I'm going to put these shoulders into you and I'm going to get to my spot. So I don't think he needs a bag or needs to be totally creative to create space.
I think he does. I think at the next level, he won't be able to. That's crazy to think, but I don't know if he'll be able to just bully everybody.
Not? He's bullying college players. He just turned 18. He's going to get stronger.
But my thinking is, and this is why I need him to tighten up his handle. Kawhi has a bag and he has efficient dribbles. He will pound the ball, but he's pounding the ball because he's trying to run through you, right? And I feel like Cooper has that same mindset, but it does take a little bit of, whatever, bop, bop, bop to get to your spots. Like that's the next level for him. Not just because I want him to be the white Kawhi, but just because like if they're gonna put somebody bigger on him and give him space, and they're gonna be like, okay, you're gonna have to create space. You're not just gonna be able to run through me because I'm going to give you just enough space. That's what I mean by him needing to add to his bag. Because if you give Kawhi space where he can't run through you, where he's just gonna pull up jumper you to death. And again, we're comparing top 75 guy to a guy that just turned 18. But like Cooper Flagg, again, if you get up on him, you're gonna lose that because he can get low and he's strong. So like he's tough, man. Really good. Like I said, number 1 pick. It was never in doubt to me. and he's
I
getting
mean,
better.
I like Dylan Harper. He had a rough game tonight, but I just think the way Flagg is trending. I mean, Dylan Harper would have had to like really, really blow Flagg away to pass him at number one. And same for Ace. Like I said, I thought they've had, at least I thought Ace had a puncher's chance. I mean, talking about like a what's his name? Deanthony. What's his name? I forgot what his name. Wilder.
DeAndre.
Yeah, I was about to call him Deontay Wilder. Like
Deontay, yeah.
a puncher's chance. I thought Dylan may have a chance because somebody may look at him as the quarterback, the guy that's going to have the ball in his hands the most. But it's just going to be very, very, very hard to pass Flagg because, I mean, what are you going to have to average? 40, 30? Because
it's not even that. You have to do everything else because Flagg leads his team in every statistical category.
So I definitely think that he has created some separation. It's unfortunate that Harper had the flu. Aces, we just talked about how well he's playing, but like I said, Flagg is just creating separation with the way he's playing. Again, I was high on him. I had him number one. I was one of the people that thought, Con Kneppel might lead the team in scoring. Flagg may just kind of stuff the stat sheet, average 15 or 16 points per game. But I can't say I saw 22 in conference play. So Flagg has exceeded my expectations, and I think he's pretty much slammed the door as far as being the number one pick. All right, up next, we're going to talk about Hunter Sallis, and Hunter is on fire. Basketball season is heating up, and there is no better way to get real money than playing Prize Picks. So whether you are a diehard fan or you just love some friendly competition, Prize Picks makes it very easy and simple to turn your basketball knowledge into cash. So here's how it works. All you have to do is pick more or less on at least two players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. If you think LeBron is going to drop 30, or you think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to go for 40, it's simple. Prize Picks lets you make your prediction, and you can get paid, and it only takes about 60 seconds. And right now is the absolute perfect time to join. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $15 lineup. That's right. No need to win to get the bonus. It is guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, last segment. Let's talk about Hunter Sallis. I had Hunter as a first-round pick last year. I know you had him as a first-round pick. We've talked about him this season, and let's be honest, he got off to, in my opinion, a slow start. Started trending in the right direction, but the jump shot wasn't falling, at least the three ball. I thought he had, some struggles a little bit running the point. I think he's more so of a combo guard. I wasn't 100% sold on him playing point guard full time. I didn't think that was going to maximize his draft status. I think it's good to show you can do it, but I didn't think that was going to put him in the best position to, again, maximize his draft status again, because I thought he was a first round pick last year. But Hunter Sallis, after what I thought was a slow start, especially shooting the ball, he is back on track. And in conference play, 22 points, 3.9 rebounds, 2.4 assists per game, which is up from last year. But he is shooting 56% from the floor, 40% from three, and 91% from the foul line. What are your thoughts on Hunter's resurgence?
Yeah, he's got, I said last year, but I think he has some of the best middle game in all of college basketball. Middle game meaning mid-range, off-the-dribble shooting, and the combination of athleticism and just getting to your spots. He does that extremely well. Again, last year he showed that he could make threes at a high level, and they weren't just catch and shoot threes. Again, you mentioned he got off to a slow start, but he's back up. I think he's probably reviving some of that first round draft stock. Will he be as high as he was last year? It's a different draft than last year. So it's almost, hometown bias aside, I think it would be a little tougher for him to regain that just because some of the players from these excellent freshmen and some of the sophomores and other guys that have come back. But he is playing extremely well, and I think that he's going to give himself an opportunity to be drafted in the first round, depending on how you feel. But I do think like he would be a guy that could help a playoff team with off the bench scoring like right away. Should be able to play on the ball and off the ball because again, the 3-point shooting it's trending back in the right direction, and he's going to have his opportunities against Duke, North Carolina, and so forth. In the ACC, his team is actually, they're better this year. They missed the tournament last year. He's going to have his opportunities, and that's all you can ask for when you come back to school is just give me a chance to show you that I can do more. Again, if the biggest knock on him was the 3-point shooting and he gets that back up to like 35%, then you'll take that. But he's making the assist numbers aren't too drastic from junior year and senior year, but like the assist percentage total is a lot better. So he is making plays, but I ultimately do think he is a combo guard.
Yeah, right now, if you just look at the overall stats, he's still shooting just 31% from three. But if he keeps playing the way he's playing in conference play, he should be able to get that number up. I thought the 40% that he shot last year on 5 attempts per game, I thought that was going to be difficult to pass up simply because at the start of last year, I don't want to say he came out of nowhere, but I feel like this year, every single game plan is geared to stop him. Yes, it was like that last year after a few games once he established himself as the dude on Wake Forest, but I did think 40% on a high volume of attempts, especially playing on the ball, was difficult to duplicate. But so far in conference play, I mean, he's looked good. He's been fine. He's at 40% on 4.6 attempts per game. Last year in conference play, he was 44% on 5.2 attempts per game. But overall, I mean, the scoring is up from last year. And the way that he's been playing, I mean, I'm going to just read some of these numbers out for you, right? So against Virginia Tech, 24 points, 7 rebounds on 10 of 17 shooting. Against Stanford, he had 30 points on 12 of 17 shooting. He was actually 3 of 7 from deep against Virginia Tech, 3 of 5 from 3 against Stanford. Against Miami, 8 of 15 for 22 points. And against North Carolina State, 8 of 14 for 20 points. He had a 23-point game against Syracuse where he shot below 50%. He was 7 of 18. But prior to that game, he was 11 of 15 from the floor for 26 points against Clemson. So out of his last, 6 games, he's just had one game under 53% from the floor. Easily one of the hottest prospects in the country as far as efficiency over the last month.
For sure. And again, he's going to give himself opportunities because, he's the man. Wake Forest is winning. They should be the tournament team this time around. So shout out to Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, that was a key. Like, they didn't make the tournament last year. They're 14-4 right now, and Wake Forest is winning. And so if he can lead them to the tournament, I don't think they've made the tournament like the last 3 or 4 years. And if he can lead them to the tournament, then I think that should help his cause. And then I also feel like after the lottery, I think there are going to be some teams that are going to pick a player that they think can come in and contribute right away, as opposed to a young player that needs a lot of development. So I think that could work in his favor. All right, last but not least, I want to talk about Jalon Moore. James and I have different opinions on Jalon Moore. Jalon Moore from Oklahoma was a big reason why Oklahoma got off to a 3-0 start. Now, they're struggling in SEC play, and his teammate Jeremiah Fears got a lot of the attention. But in conference play, Jalon Moore, 19.8 points, 7.2 rebounds. Check this out. 59% from the floor, 60% from 3, 81% from the foul line. ESPN has him listed at 6'7", 215. In my opinion, he is a player that probably won't get drafted. I think that he'll get a two-way. I think he's almost certain to get a two-way. And I think he's going to be a player that goes undrafted but finds a way to stick in the NBA. Undersized 4, but I think he can be a small ball four. He shoots the ball well. Not a great deal of volume, but the motor, the athleticism, I think there's a way for him to stick.
Yeah, he's got the talent, but like we had talked about offline, my biggest issue with him are just a couple things. Like the 3 point percentage is good. The volume to me isn't. I can't get down with the volume. On the season, I have him shooting only 3 attempts per game,
That's, I
and
mean, it's not like his one attempt. 3 attempts is, I'll
three.
take that.
But my thinking though, 3 attempts per game for a senior on a team that gets up and down of his 11 shots per game, he's only taking three threes. Again, the percentage looks fine. That's great, but like the low volume it's a bit concerning for me. That's just my personal taste.
All
But
right. Well,
even
what about the
more,
85% from the foul line on 5 free throw attempts per game?
the play what translates him getting these isos and bulldogging his way to the basket, is that going to translate in a lower usage role, Ralph? That's my concern. And on top of that, like, again, if we're talking about a low usage role and we're talking about cracking an NBA rotation, he doesn't get steals and he doesn't get blocks, and those are like red flags for me for guys who are trying to get two ways. But the offensive talent is there. Can he evolve into a low usage guy that knocks down threes, can attack a closeout? Because he can get buckets. But again, what does it look like on the scale down road? Those are my issues with Jalon Moore, but I do think he will get an opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's a guy that's got a blue collar, brings a lot of energy. He can attack the floor on straight line drives, and he's an efficient shooter. Over his last 2 years, again, not a great volume of attempts, but his last couple of years, he shot over 40% from three. Shot 41% last year on 2 attempts. This year, he's up to 3.2. He's at 44%. And despite the SEC being a brutal conference, he's put up numbers. 22 points against South Carolina, 6 of 10 from the floor, 10 of 11 from the foul line. Against Texas, 29 points, 8 rebounds, got to the foul line 9 times, 8 of 9 from the foul line, 3 of 5 from 3, 9 of 13 from the floor. Against Georgia, 17 points. I mean, he has had some strong games. Again, they got blew out or blown out by Alabama, but it wasn't his fault. 9 of 14 from the floor, 20.7 rebounds. I like the athleticism. I like the efficiency. I like the ability to get fouled and shoot. He probably won't get drafted, but he's the type of player that I think will have a better NBA career than some of the players that are drafted. I see him as a guy that finds a way to stick.
I hope you're right, but it's extremely hard to stick. We're in an era right now where Terrence Shannon Jr. is too good for the G League, and he can't crack a rotation on a team that sometimes struggles to score. Justin Edwards, he's been playing extremely well, but again, if the Sixers aren't first team all Band-Aid, does he crack that rotation? I mean, he's playing now. It's just hard to make it in the NBA, especially when you go from like high usage to lower usage and just opportunity alone. But sometimes you get in, sometimes you don't.
But he's a guy that I think is blue collar enough with like his athleticism, his motor. I mean, he's a very good transition finisher that I think can play in a low usage role because he's not. They're scoring, but they're not like featuring him, like getting him a whole bunch of like post ups and so on.
Yeah.
So I think, like I said, transition finisher, cutter, straight line driver, can knock down open shots. He's the type of player, like I said, I think it's stick. And I also think that in the next few years, you're going to see a lot of these teams that are like top heavy in salary are going to be looking for these complementary guys that are on two ways that can play. And so, like I said, I think he's gonna. I think there's a role for Jalon Moore in the NBA, but the way he's been playing this year, I didn't have him on my radar coming into the season. I did have somebody reach out to me and ask me what I thought about him, and I thought he was at least a two-way guy. But now I think that you have to put him in the conversation as someone that gets drafted. I don't think he gets drafted, but I think he's like an immediate two-way guy. Again, the SEC is brutal. Conference play, 19.8 points, 7 rebounds, 59, 60, 81 shooting splits. And the way the SEC is, arguably the deepest conference in NCAA history with those numbers, it's hard to deny him. Well, that wraps up this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast. Once again, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. Check out the Locked On newsletter at lockedondaily.com. Once again, it's Rafael and James, and we are out of here.